Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Karina, and welcome to this video where I'll address how to say time in French. Then, everything aside, let's start. Before we start with the main stuff of time, time in French is pronounced as heure. You can imagine the word by saying air in English and then curling the R and adding a slight H, a very slight H at the end. So, heure. So, in order to start telling time in French, we need to address the most important thing. Unfortunately, the most important thing in telling time is the numbers, because if you don't know how to adjust the numbers in French, it would be like asking time and telling time in English, vice versa. So here are the numbers, and these are the numbers from 1 to 24. In Canada, which is where I am right now and where one of the UBC campuses is located at, we usually use the 12-hour clock. For example, 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. We go between p.m. and a.m. But for other countries, for example, like France, they might use the 24-hour clock. And especially for numbers, if you use the 24-hour clock, you would obviously need to know the numbers that go beyond 12. So the first 10 numbers would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then after that, we go on to 11 and 12, and like it goes like 11, 12, 13, 14. And remember, if you don't know the pronunciation of any words, the best way is to Google Translate. Google Translate is your new best friend in pronunciation. And so continuing on, for 15, it would be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. The best way to memorize these is just to practice more. Practice makes perfect, and the more you practice, the more better you'll be at numbers. So, now that we've moved past the numbers mark, what is the most easiest way to say time? As I've written on here, the most easiest way to say time is il est, and then insert the number, is. It is literally translated into it is the number of hours. So, for example, here, il est 7 heures. It is 7. And because of the is added on, in English we would directly say it is 7, but in French, like the direct translation would be it is 7 hours. More examples would be like il est une heure. Note here that I have already written, but une, usually in numbers we use un without the e. However, in here, number 1 is added with the e due to ils being feminine. And then more examples here would be like il est 10 heures, il est 20 heures, if you're using the 24-hour clock. And well done! Step 1 of how to tell numbers is fully mastered. Now, part 2 of telling numbers would be how to tell the minutes. You have already mastered how to tell the hours, what time it is, at like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And then now we shall move on to how to say numbers. How to say numbers. This is quite easy. So in the last slide, you have learned on how to say hours. And then after the hours, the is, just add the number of minutes. Of course, this might require you a higher understanding of the numbers, since you might have to go over the 24 mark. For example, if you're trying to say, 30 minutes in French, that would be like 30, like 30, 30. And you might go over 30, 45, but it's better to know your numbers. That is why numbers are extremely important when you're explaining and trying to ask about time, telling time. So the correct way is to say il est numbers of hours and then like add is plus the minutes. So examples would be here, il est 8 heures 22. Translated, it would be, it is 8 hours 22. Other ways you can tell time. So 15, like the quarter in French would be pronounced as quart. It kind of is like quart, but then removing the T pronunciation at the end and adding an H. And then half of an hour or 30 minutes would be demi. Of course, you could just use the numbers if you don't want to use quart and demi, quart and demi. And examples here of using these, using demi would be il est 8 heures 8 demi. Like it is 8 hours and half. You could also like directly just say il est 8 heures 30. And that is how you explain quarter and half in French. And then after the 30-minute mark, unfortunately, we need to delve into math. So minus in French is moins. So for the example here, I wrote il est 6 heures moins le quart. It's literally translated into it is 6 minus 15, as known as 5:45. So we use minus as a way to say after the 30 mark, the time after 30 minutes. And as mentioned earlier, some countries use the 24-hour clock, other countries use the 12-hour clock. For 12-hour clocks, we use AM and PM. And in English, that would be morning and afternoon, AM for morning, PM for afternoon. In French, AM or the morning would be du matin, and in afternoon, PM, it would be l'après-midi. So, how do we use AM and PM in a sentence? It is very easy. Just add it after the number of hours. So, for example, il est, insert the numbers or hours you want to say, ils du matin. Il est numbers, ils de l'après-midi. That is basically very similar to in English how we say it is 7 a.m. Il est, it is, 7, sept, ils, like the hours, du matin, a.m. And so here, in this slide, I will be introducing the other vocabs related to time. And so midi would be noon, minuit would be midnight, and du soir is evening. Du soir is the same thing as PM. In this case, du soir is used after 6 p.m. Usually we would say like the afternoon would be around 12 to 5, and then 5 and after, or 6 and after would be the evening. Evening also means night. So, for example, in this slide, we can use du soir as il est 8 heures du soir. It is 8 at night. And according to this, you can also say it is noon, it is midnight by directly saying il est midi, il est minuit. Asking for time. So how do we ask time in French? It is actually very easy, directly translated from English to French. It would be quelle heure est-il? It's basically quelle means what, heure, as you know, hour, est-il is it. What time is it? Or directly translated, what hour is it? All right, quiz time. Pause the video right now and try to do these questions. Translate them into French. And if you can, then you have mastered all the basics of how to tell time. If you can't or have a few wrong, don't worry about it. Practice more. As said, practice makes perfect, and the more you practice, the more better you'll get at it. So you can do it. Keep at it. So, ta-da! The answers are revealed. How was it? Did you get it all correct, or did you have a bit wrong of a part or some mistakes? Don't worry, I said practice makes perfect. Finally, we will talk about an extra vocab. The word pile, you can think of it as pill, but make sure to drag out the I instead of I in pill. So it would be like pile. And then this word means exactly. So you can say something like il est 9 heures pile. Like translation, it would be it is exactly 9 o'clock. Add pile to the end of heures or the end of your sentence, and that would be exactly. And thank you so much for joining me on this video. We are officially finished. Thank you. Au revoir.